My name is Samantha, and I am going to be presenting. Thank you, Maya and Antoinette. Okay, so I want to start by asking everyone to drop in the chat a number based on like how they're feeling today. I'm feeling a 10 because I'm like, yeah. Okay, Rob, I feel that. Okay, so I'm gonna try to move us fast, but also like thoughtfully. So if there are questions and stuff, definitely like let me know at the end. But we can transition, and thank you for sharing in the chat how you're feeling. So my outline. We started with the mhm. We started with the icebreaker, then we're gonna do I'm gonna introduce like my project and myself and then my project, and then I'm gonna talk about the design breakdown, like the steps that I took. Then I'm gonna talk about my prototype. I'll talk about equity versus equality, or like how my project aligns with equity at this time, and like how it can progress, and then I'm gonna wrap up. Okay, so my project is called About Love, and it's writing from within. So this is the title of my prototype. But I'm not gonna just okay. So about me, my name is Samantha. Any pronoun is fine, honestly. I'm an educator, an organizer, mom, and a writer. This is my son, Isaias or Izzy. He's 9. And the picture underneath is a rally that I went to against the 24-hour workday that home attendants are forced to work in New York. And yeah, we can move on. Okay, so what are we answering and why? So how might we create a writing series about oppression and sexism for folks in their 20s and 30s so that we can talk about building communities of love and radical rest? That's yeah. So what is my design project? So my project is a series, and my prototype is just like one element of the series that I want to move into. But basically they're focused on like yoga and wellness and meditation, and then discussion and reflections. And I wanted to incorporate writing because it's one of the ways that I really enjoy expressing myself, but opening it up to like people whose interest is in a different like medium. And then, including readings, etc. Because I think that it's really important that as we like work towards like liberation, like education and like reading and like understanding our history is incorporated. Okay, we can move on. Okay, so about my project, my audience, who is my audience of focus and why? So I created a audience persona, and the person who I thought about, the name was Bell, inspired by Bell Hooks, and the quotes were, "Love can exist where domination does, and it is often the case that we are seeking power and not love, which further alienate us." I think that that's what Bell Hooks would say. And this person cares about dismantling capitalism. They care about sexism, and they care about feminism. And I did not include a language setting slide, but I will like just set 3 things. But before we go there, I also wanted to say like a challenge or an obstacle that this person who I was thinking about in my audience, an obstacle that they, or a challenge that they would face, could be like, we live on a society that like needs sexism in order for like oppression and like exploitation to continue. So it's an obstacle like that our society is structured in the way that it is. Another obstacle is that we have normalized violence and like hating one another, again, like as a like a symptom, like a side effect of the system that we live under. And this could also, like, this audience person that I was thinking of, it's also someone who, like, you know, perhaps like they were working and like once they became successful, their partner felt like they didn't want to be with them anymore because of competition and like interpartner internal conflict in the relationship that leads to, like, you know, like a power struggle where one person feels that if their partner has more like power and makes more money, then they can no longer be together because that person now has an advantage. Like, so that was yeah, what I was thinking of. And then a want from this person is to build communities of love, and a need is to challenge ourselves and act on our beliefs. And I just want to set a few things that I'm going to be talking about during my presentation. I'm going to say it out loud. I don't have a slide in there for them. I apologize. And these definitions, I found them on Google. So one of them is patriarchy, and patriarchy is a political social system that insists that males are inherently dominating, superior to everything and everyone deemed weak, especially females, and endowed with the right to dominate and rule over the weak and to maintain that dominance through various forms of psychological terrorism and violence. I just wanted to like clarify that I actually think that women can also like act in patriarchal ways. And so I don't think it's just like men. The next one is love, and love as the will to extend. This is like Bell Hooks. In one of her books, she talks about love, and this is something that she uses, and I really like love. But love as the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. And the last thing that the last word is rest. And I got this from Trisha Hersey. She wrote a book called Rest is Resistance. Rest in its simplest form becomes an act of resistance and a reclaiming of power because it asserts our most basic humanity. We are enough. The systems cannot have us. Okay, so we can move on, Rob. Okay, so examining history. All right, so what did we learn about history during this program? What did I learn? I learned a little bit about like the feminist movement and where it dropped off, like where, you know, women and like people, allies too, were organizing around like rights and freedoms for women. But then like a critique that Bell Hooks mentions in her books that I really like can agree with is that where we dropped the ball off is that, you know, we like women are working now, but women are also like they're working at work and also at home. So like if we're going to talk about labor and work, we need to also talk about how housework is work, and like emotional labor is labor, and like all these different forms of labor that like still continue to be like a burden that's placed on women. And another thing that I learned, another component of history, was the media portrayal of Black and persons of color. I like right now I'm reading like Salvation by Bell Hooks, and like it's really interesting to me how, and even actually like now, like when I'm watching TV and like when I observe the relationships that people have, like oftentimes like love and like healthy relationships are not played out by Black or people of color. It's just like, and I think that, you know, maybe we're seeing that more, but I think historically it hasn't been the case because the people who control the media also want to control like how we see Black and people of color, and you know, and yeah, I want to maintain the status quo. So the historical inequities that I was focused on were Black women and feminism and movements led by Black folks and the intervention of like the US government to prevent them from succeeding. Thank you. Okay, so my research. Oh my God, my research. I had a lot of discussions with male coworkers. I had conversations with my friends, and like I recorded them. Like I read a lot. I watched a lot of like YouTube videos and interviews. Some with bell hooks, but some with like other people. Like I've watched videos on like Pan-Africanism, and I've like also been organizing heavily against the 24-hour workday because it's an extreme form of like violence, racist violence against women of color in New York City. So I wanted to like think about like what's happening in my world, while also like looking at history, while also like thinking forward. Like I felt that organizing was a very important component. And I, in the middle of this all, I took a revolutionary feminisms course at the People's Forum, which is where I'm having my event. Actually, it's like a 360 moment. And I wrote a short story about sexism. I'm still writing it, and I spoke to a lot of other facilitators. So I remember like when I was talking, the second part where it says like, where did I go? What did people share? I remember when I was talking to a friend, he was like, if I speak with you about patriarchy, like, can you make my name anonymous? Because I don't want people to like know that I said this. Like he was so afraid of like what repercussions could come up if he like spoke out about like sexism. And a lot of the other people who I spoke with were just talking about like just how tired they are, like how little control over their time people felt they had, how like little control like or opportunity for rest they felt they had. And like a lot of the people who I spoke with were also like moms. So the same themes, like, you know, very little time to like rest, or like just like, you know, when I say rest, I mean like like really rest, like, you know, not being in your home like cooking dinner and like chilling watching TV, like, but like not doing anything, like just like resting. And yeah, we can move on, Rob. Okay, so how did I come up with my idea? So initially, when I started the fellowship, I started the class at the People's Forum, the Revolutionary Feminisms class, and I started reading. I had just almost finished the book The Will to Change by Bell Hooks, and I thought it was awesome. And at that time, I also was like facilitating biweekly support spaces for single parents who are first generation students. So there was a lot happening, and I was like, okay, how am I going to bring what I'm seeing into something that I can like show other people? So I wanted to write like a societal critique, or like a critique about the things that I noticed in society. And I started doing that, but then so many things got in the way. For example, like, oh, I might like, do I have, you know, the experience or like the education to be talking about this? Like, who am I? Like, I remember I had a lot of conversations with, or, you know, at least a couple conversations with Isabel when this came up. And so I spoke with a different mentor about it. Like, okay, you know, how am I, like, I want to write this, I'm writing about it, but I'm like really scared that if anyone ever reads like what I'm saying, like I'm going to be like whatever canceled. Or and she was like, well, why don't you write like a fictional story about like sexism and like, you know, what that relationship between two people is. And so then my project became a fictional story. And then I talked to Isabel again, and she was like, well, what if you do like a workshop or like a session where you read the story together and then you have discussion? And I was like, oh my God, that's what I'm gonna do. Not reading the story, but having discussions around like sexism, and using like writing as a tool to like, you know, express how like that affects us. Okay, so this was like my mission statement for the series, like my big project. And so to cultivate love by understanding patriarchal, sexism, capitalism, and how these systems inevitably hurt us and further divide us as humans, to co-create writing based on our learnings and experiences as women and non-binary folks who often carry the burden of unpaid emotional and household labor and the ties to capitalism, to learn about the relationship between the exploitation of women and the current 24-hour workday. So that's what I was thinking through as I was prototyping like my, okay, sorry. Yeah, I was like, that's what I was thinking through while I was prototyping. We can move on, Rob. I'll try to go fast. Okay, testing. So I talked to Rob, Isabel, Shakira. I talked to like other Seats of Power fellows. I talked to people that I knew. And I like, that's kind of like how I tested it. And also like in the bi-weekly support spaces that I was hosting, like having conversations with people around the same topic was also like, okay, this is what I'm hearing from people. We can move on. Okay, so something that I like, as I was finishing my prototype, I was thinking about like, oh, what would happen if like one of my facilitators didn't show up? Like, what is my background? Like, you know, what other things can I do to like see how this would work out? So like, I have like a study group with one of my friends. Whatever, we can move on. Okay, so this is the invitation to my event. It's today from 5 to 8. And we can move on. And my event is essentially like a okay. Yeah, so my event is essentially what we're gonna be doing today is that we're gonna be having a yoga slash like movement session, and then from there we're gonna be moving, like we're gonna be connecting with our bodies, and from there we're gonna be moving into like rest. So we're gonna meditate or like rest for 30 minutes. Just like I got everyone like eye covers, and I got yoga blankets, and I got yoga mats, and I got a sound bowl that broke sadly, and yeah, like essential oils. We're gonna like really be in our bodies and meditate, and then once we, you know, come back together, we're gonna have a discussion and like write a little bit, like reflect a little bit on how like it felt in our bodies to just like chill and like meditate. So that's basic, and then we're gonna have food. Okay, so my prototype, the way that it addresses racial and health inequities is that, you know, my co-facilitators or the co-creators who like we're gonna be doing the series together, but they also have like lived experience. Love is like or you know, cultivating love, I feel that that in itself addresses racial and health inequities. And you know, and another thing is that the 24-hour workday discussion is going to be a part of it, and I think that that definitely, like, you know, like organizing or moving to organizing against 24-hour workday definitely addresses health inequities, because these women are working 24-hour shifts back to back, only getting paid for 13 hours out of the 24. Like organizing against that is a really important thing, and then normalizing rest and connecting with our body and how that heals. We can skip this slide, Rob. Okay, so I want to expand the group, like as the series goes on. I want to expand to invite more people to join, and I have spoken to other, like a male possible or potential like facilitator, because like what I want to do is like have, you know, other people be involved. But I would say that, I don't know, I would say that the way that my project, it's something that I'm thinking of, like something that Antoinette said before. Um yeah, like, okay, so you know, the system is doing what it needs to be doing. That's what it was designed to do. And I think that like talking about how to like challenge that and like work towards rest and cultivating communities of love is equity work. Okay, key lessons. Double check the invite dates whenever you have an event, because my event was supposed to be yesterday and I put the date for today. That's why it's happening today. And yeah, and have a backup plan. Okay, and then yeah, don't allow the same system that you're fighting or that I'm fighting like prevent me from facilitating. Like something that Antoinette said earlier that also stood out to me was that you know, like focusing on more than just like the letters behind someone's name, and thinking about like our lived experience and expertise, because that actually like really pushed me to continue and follow through with my project, because I was so afraid of like, oh my god, what if like I'm unequipped or like this or that. So thinking back and sitting on that is also like a lesson. And I am done, I think.